What's up, class? Professor Calderon with another video, film history. So this video is about, we're going to handle Italy from fascism to neorealism. And page 353. Sorry. Italian cinema in 1930 was in a parlous state. Of the 1,750 films made between 1919 and 1930, it will be difficult, even with hindsight, to pick out one which achieved even minimal international success. So during this period, their cinema was on a recession, so to speak. Mussolini's fascist movement had come to power in October 22 in 1925, had established a totalitarian state. In 1926, it intervened for the first time in the field of cinema, taking over its Istituto Nazionale. I'm sorry, my Italian is worse than my French. So, the National Institute of the Union of Cinematography and Education formed in 1924. The regime thus created for itself a monopoly of cinematic information. At this time, Luce produced documentaries and also newsreels, and projection of the latter was made compulsory. So at this time in Italy, there's this rise of fascism. And Mussolini took control of the cinemas. And there was this rise in the documentary and newsreel type of films. The first legislative support for the industry came from Law 918, which assigned 10% of the box office takings to aid all sectors of the film industry, and in particular to reward those with a proven ability to cater for the tastes of the public. So they're taking a portion of the profits from the film and they're redistributing it to filmmakers who are making films that the people actually like. Okay. In 1933, it became obligatory to show one Italian film for every 3 foreign films. So you had to realize that the global film market was still taking place during fascism. So Mussolini had this slogan, and this is a paraphrase of it, or he paraphrased Lenin, and he said, "For us, cinema is the strongest weapon." So he still viewed cinema as a weapon. The real question to ask then is why fascist regimes took so long to arrive at these interventionist measures. One can hazard 2 complementary responses. On one hand, active intervention followed the example of Nazi Germany, where Hitler and his minister of propaganda had not hesitated to take control of the cinema. That's one faction. On the other hand, fascist policy in cinema merely reflected the regime's ideological inconsistency. Its hasty compromises and chameleon-like pragmatisms aptly adapted to any and all necessities. As in other sectors of cultural life, fascist influence was primarily negative, preventive, and repressive. Fascism merely worked to divert interest away from present-day reality, which was to be the executive preservations of politicians. Hence, after 1930, there were only 4 films made about the fascist revolution. So fascism's heavy hand in trying to control the Italian cinema, it backfired. There were less films made during this period. Okay? So during this period, Camerini took the camera out of the studio and onto the streets of Milan, amongst the stands and people of the common commercial fare, thus anticipating a tendency of post-war neorealism. That's what neorealism is, where you take the camera out of like a studio or of a controlled environment and you put it someplace real. Thus the term neorealism, right? You're filming life as it takes place, not life as you sort of orchestrate it. Because in the studio environment, you orchestrate life, you compose it. You say, I want you to stand here and you to stand there. I want you to walk this way, and then on this cue you go that way. And no, in neorealism, it's like, this is the street, shoot it. Okay? Despite the individual talent of figures like Blasetti and Camerini, these are filmmakers of this period, the driving force behind Italian cinema remained the escapist film. Its style was much closer than is commonly acknowledged to Hollywood products of the same period. It split into distinct genres. It relied on the cult of the stars, and it cultivated, with only occasional success, the image of the director as a professional and author figure. So they were able to, like, let me say, nowadays we can talk about contemporary great directors, Singleton, Gary F. Gray, Spielberg. We can talk about these filmmakers. So what was happening is they were trying to build the reputation of the director as the author of the film, okay, for the first time. Not necessarily star vehicles or vehicles for the story, but now it's like, let's really build the reputation of the director and cultivate that. There was a steady increase. In 1937, Mussolini ordered that 100 films a year should be the target. Only 32 feature-length films were made, and this was in 1937. The following year, the government suddenly passed a law setting limits on the importing of American films, provoking the pullout of the four big MGM, Warner's, Fox, and Paramount. So they left Italy. They were done. Production leaped to 60 titles, and then to 87 in 1940, and then 120 in 1942. So production was growing. This growth fed the power of the star actor. And on top in 1930s was star Vittorio De Sica. And he named some others. I'm not going to go through their names. Around 1940, a new trend in filmmaking emerged. The first, represented by filmmakers such as Mario Salvatini, Castellini, Luigi Chiarani,